What if a way to like correct people's errors in choir was just we all had to wear shock collars, and then whenever someone messed up, I'm like, so every now and then when someone messes up, he looks at me and just goes. Hello, welcome back
Hey,
to
y'all.
the All Good in the Brotherhood podcast. Finally with the brother,
Yeah,
the OG brother.
The OG.
This is not knocking on Tom. Love him. Super glad he's actually been a lot more
He
regular.
just wasn't in the first episode.
Yeah, he wasn't. I mean, he wasn't in like the first 12
He wasn't in the
episodes.
first several. Yeah,
Um,
quite a while.
and-
but not an add-on.
And this guy hasn't been in person in way too
know.
long.
Yeah, it's been summer. It was the last time I appeared in anything, and it's been probably since spring that I was in any regularity.
Yeah, it's
So,
been a while.
It's been a
So,
long time.
this guy's just finished his first semester of law school, which is.
I was gonna say I went off to like study kung fu in Japan or China. I don't even know where he studied kung fu. Yeah, but no, it was in fact law school, not getting a black belt in kung fu, but it was super cool. So it got done with the first semester of 1L year. So they say that's the hardest, or at least that 1L in general is the hardest, but it's in the book, so it wasn't that terrible.
Is that what they call it? 1L, 2L, like.
3L, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what actually they call it in seminary. It's 1T, 2T, 3T, 4T.
For theology?
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, yeah.
T4, T1. So yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm T4. One semester left of it.
Sounds like a military designate.
Yeah. Then I'll be ordained a priest, which is crazy. 5 months, basically, just over 5 months and counting.
That's pretty hype. How do you feel about knowing that, especially since you've thought about priesthood since you were a kid?
Oh yeah, no,
How does it feel to be in the home stretch?
It's so exciting is the word. A little bit not terrifying. I'm certainly not terrified, but a little like unnerving of like
Sure.
all
yeah.
of this weight of responsibility will now just be
about to
instantly
descend
thrust
on
on my shoulders. And yet I also feel truly ready. Like, and
that's good.
you know, which like I as an ordained deacon, we really hope I am.
That's
but
not a
it
guarantee.
it doesn't have to
No.
be. But what I think has really proved that to me or helped me feel that security and resolution has been my parish ministry, which we did an episode recently with Tyler Fitzgerald. If you haven't checked that episode, you can see he and I talk about our deacon experiences.
Yeah.
But just doing that weekly ministry in the parish, and I've even gone a couple times when I didn't even have to go,
Yeah.
just because of how much I loved it. So,
Dude, that's sick. I think couples should be required to have some experience babysitting like a whole family together while they're engaged,
That's actually a smart idea.
while they're married but still expecting or before they have their first baby. Because I hear so many couples be like, "We walked out of the hospital with our first kid and thought, oh my gosh, we're responsible for taking care of a human being." You don't get any instruction manual, but like having a deacon equivalent where you kind of get some trial by fire in a lower stake environment would maybe be cool. But that's super cool. You've gotten to experience pastoral life.
Yeah, and especially like pastoral life versus like monastic community life is very different because at least
sure.
in the parish, everyone so far, right? And I'm not the priest, so I'm sure this will change.
You get heat.
But like just everyone is so like encouraging and affirming. Everyone's so nice.
Yeah.
This last weekend I preached and I had like a dozen people ask, like, "Can I get a copy of your homily?" So, which
Wow.
I just can expect like the more homilies I preach, the less that would be the case.
For sure.
Yeah. And then comparing that to the community life, which love the monks, they're not the most encouraging group of individuals because we all live together and we see the other sides of each other. It's like living in a big family.
Yes.
Which
No, that's true. It is the holiday season, is it not?
What is
it is the holiday season.
It is the holiday season.
Happy or blessed Advent.
Blessed Advent, and depending on when you listen to this, Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
I will never say Happy Holidays. You know, actually, I heard that they're trying to retcon the word Christmas tree now to call it holiday tree because they still the word Christmas
It's
in
like
it.
Turkey Day for Thanksgiving, but worse. Oh, that's so abominable. I hate that. It's crazy because I was down in DC. Where I'm studying law school, and I was just driving back from the grocery store actually, and a lot of small towns have decorations in Christmas time. They put up wreaths along the telephone poles, and they put up lights and stuff. But it's funny, in this small town, it's like a suburb of DC where I live, there was no real decorations, very minimal,
That's so
except
sad.
for on the side of this one street, there are just these banners that say Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Christmas, and Happy New
Ugh,
Year. And it's just like hitting all, like covering it all
all
for
exclusive,
every single possible person. And it's like,
inclusive, I guess.
you don't even need to do that. We live in everyone who lives in the town is Hispanic in the little town that I live in. So it's like you could just say Merry Christmas or Feliz
Feliz
Navidad. You'd
Navidad.
cover
They'd
everybody.
be good.
It's not like there's a whole lot of diversity really.
Huh.
But it's just so cringe. It's like it struck me because it was so joyless. It's like these bland looking banners just trying to cover all their bases and offend nobody. And I thought like, man, this is just really lame. So yeah, no happy holidays here. Merry Christmas
Merry
in
Christmas.
advance and blessed Advent. But the reality is during the holiday season,
Mhm.
which is a real thing. You can call it holiday
Yeah,
season. 'Cause
absolutely. There are lots
it's
of
Christ.
holidays. Yeah.
Exactly.
Holy Day.
Right. And New Year's and all the sort of things that gather families together. There are moments where you're going to be with your siblings or be with extended family or be with, that new in-law or whoever that are bound to be sources of great joy and to all a good night and to all a Merry Christmas and all that. But sometimes it happens. It's not an unheard of phenomenon that when families get together, especially ones that haven't seen each other for a while or maybe have
Yeah.
somewhat
T
different beliefs on things or
tension.
they're starting to grow apart.
Like that stereotypical Thanksgiving dinner.
Exactly.
It just like slowly
You got
implodes in on
exactly.
itself.
You got your woke Starbucks cousin, your crazy conspiracy theory uncle, and then like your little kid who doesn't know what's going on in Palestine. You got like that's always a political example, but in general, no matter what it is, holidays bring together family members that don't always get along, or maybe just the fact that they all are together, they realize like, oh yeah, it's this,
You annoy me.
yeah, I'm really annoyed. So that's just a common experience in the holiday season.
And it's a
Yeah,
common experience in the monastery outside of the holiday season and in it, but because we're living together all the time.
for sure.
And
Oh yeah.
so that's
Oh, for sure, dude.
something to, yeah, can you
Familiarity
imagine?
breeds contempt.
Yep.
Yeah, dude. Big time.
And so
Yeah.
it just all of that made me think of something my novice master, and this is something I just like kind of want to like talk about.
Yeah.
Is when I first entered the monastery, Father Joe is my novice master, which I think I've talked about before, but like former military, army dude, chaplain,
Total hoss.
like 6'2", just like beefcake guy. It's
Yeah.
like a unit. That's what everyone calls
Absolute
it. Father
unit,
Joe,
for
the
sure.
unit. So, um, when I entered the monastery, like I think the first day of the novitiate, he said, a really important like principle or like image to live by in regards to the monastery is seeing it as a rock tumbler. Uh, and a rock tumbler is basically it's a small or large device, whatever mixer thing, where rocks with sharp edges are put in together with like a mixture of like water, and like sand, some kind of like coarse material.
Abrasive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they're mixed around, and the abrasive material and the rocks in there together, along with the water, just like like erosion. It's like basically how to make
High
erosion
speed
happen
erosion.
really, really quickly.
Very cool.
And so the rocks are hitting off each other, and what's the end result? But you get a bunch of smooth, polished stones.
Oh, isn't that beautiful?
And it's like a way to take like all these jagged rocks and then like make them pavers, so you can
Oh, sure.
to make
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
stone pavement,
Oh,
like
that's how we
pathway.
get those nice rocks,
Yeah.
dude. I'm always wondering where they pulling these things.
So he said entering the monastery is like
Yeah.
your rock getting thrown into the tumbler with all of the other monks' rocks. So we all enter in with a bunch of sharp edges, some people with a lot more sharp edges than others. And our whole life is just being slowly churned into that smooth rock
Yeah.
to become a paver, not to become like a perfect rock ourselves, to become literally a paver for the next monk to walk just a little bit closer on the road to holiness,
Oh.
like it for his future. So I'm not just becoming holy for my sake, I'm also coming holy for the community. And yet the means for holiness isn't just like doing all like the prayer and the devotion.
Yeah.
It's literally living in the friction of the community
Yeah.
and allowing like the things that annoy us, the people that annoy us,
Mm-hmm.
to not be things that we disregard, but ones that we accept as a means to sanctification. So what he said is like everyone in this monastery will contribute to your holiness, whether they're trying to or not, whether
Wow.
they mean to or not, and whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
So kind of in the spirit of the holiday season
That's so
and in
interesting.
anticipation of potential family strife, friction, or just at work or in school. I know you said there's a lot of people in your classes that annoy the heck out of you. Like
Yeah, none of them are gonna watch this. Not. I mean, I don't even know them.
But like, how do we
intimately enough
how
that
do
that
we
happens,
how
but
do we
yeah.
approach things that annoy us in a way that contributes to our holiness rather
Right.
than contributes to like our our own degradation.
Well, that's really good because definitely there is that risk. Like we might say, "Oh, we're striving for patience," and so you know what? I can just be patient with this relative or this coworker or whoever it is that we're in tension with. But you also have to recognize the fact that, yeah, if you're in that state of tension, you're going to be in a state of erosion, like you're describing,
Hmm.
and erosion doesn't feel good. And sometimes you need to know your limits and be like, okay, I might want to be this ideal, perfect form of patience, but I'm really not there
Yeah.
yet.
Yep.
Sometimes you need to know when to step away. It might be in literally a meal if there's a conversation going on and you think, wow, I want to lose it in conversation with this relative. Maybe you just need to literally step away. Sometimes it's not stuff that dramatic, though. It might just be little pet peeves that, especially during the holidays, you get reminded of if you're with somebody or in the orbit of somebody that you kind of forgot what it was like to be around them, and
Hmm.
you're now maybe painfully reminded. So I think one thing though to do is, yeah, acknowledge that there is a potential for erosion, and that doesn't feel good. The kind of erosion you're talking about. Number two, acknowledge that something good can come out of that.
Hmm. Yep. Yep.
That very experience in that, yeah, there's an opportunity for growth for yourself as long as you're doing it in a healthy way and not going so extreme that you're gonna, you know, blow your top. But number three, it might sound trite, but try to recognize the good in the other person and be like, okay, look, they might, I don't know, maybe you're having a meal with somebody you haven't seen in a long time and you get reminded, wow, they chew with their mouth open.
Hmm.
Or just something like that's a pet peeve. To have a little bit of humility and also charity and just look past that and be like, all right, it's not that big a deal. Let's just focus on it's so good to be with this person again.
What if it never feels like it's good to be with them though? Like that
Mm,
that
wow.
so okay, so I want
Yeah.
you to reflect on that for a minute. While I
Yeah.
do agree with what the things that you're saying,
Yeah.
um, it is not my responsibility to do an examination of conscience for someone else.
Sure.
And so be like, okay, well, they're a judgmental person, or they're always seeming to be stirring the pot, or they're just like always in a bitter mood. Not we can kind of and think like, well, I don't do those things, or even if I do, I try to like check myself. This person doesn't seem to. Um, so recently, my spiritual director, I was talking to him about someone that annoys me, and he was saying some similar things that you were saying, but he also said, sometimes we get angry or annoyed with people because we see them getting away with things we no longer allow ourselves to get away with,
Yeah.
and we almost like get repulsed by the immaturity or the
Mm,
lack of self
yeah.
awareness that this person
That's
has.
true. Yeah.
And he said, "It does not become our job to tell this person, by the way, you're immature or you're not aware of yourself, right? It's rather to model those things in a better way without thinking I'm modeling this so that they change. It's rather I'm modeling this because
Well, you're
I
doing it
know
because it's the right thing to do, and you know it
exactly.
is, and
Yeah,
hope you I think it's okay to hope that
that it
other
would
people can
affect
see
them.
your example, but
And
not that that be the only reason.
and he said, "And you know what? If
Yeah.
this person wasn't there doing that, would you be reminded of staying true to yourself?"
Yeah.
You know? Like, let's say, like,
Right.
patience, right? Patience, humility, a big I guess, I don't know if I call it a virtue, I think a virtue, but of acceptance has been, like, a really big thing I've been working on this year. Acceptance of people as they are, situations as they are, myself as I am. And he said, "If you don't have these people, like, reminding you of that, would you still do it?"
Right.
So, but yeah, what about being around someone who it's almost impossible to be around? How can we approach
Well, for
sanctity in that regard, or what's sanctifying about that?
yeah. Um, that's a great question. Well, I guess you just pray to God that the moments pass quickly and that soon you can be back on the road and say, "Hasta la vista" to that person for another year. No, uh I genuinely that's a good question. Yeah, because there are people that yeah, there's some people that rub you the wrong way a little bit. Then there's other people that just they grate on you, and it's
Mhm.
like, man, like this is just you feel like you're in a blender. Just being around their presence, you're like, wow, I'm just in torment right now. This is alleviating me of so much purgatory time. Um, and I think well, it's hard because maybe there's gonna be a situation where there's no escape from that. I would say if there is opportunities to kinda step away,
Mhm.
go for a walk, find something to distract yourself from that, that'd be good, but if there's no opportunity, if you're like, okay, say you're at a very small social gathering and it's just you and this other person talking. Well, maybe try to understand them. Like if you're having a conversation with them, try to understand uh why they are the way they are. And what I mean is like lean into into your own recognition that they're annoying. So
Okay.
so if say you're like, dang it, like why do they talk like this? Like maybe the way they talk is annoying. Then ask them questions about like, yeah, so what are your thoughts on this or that in ways that could nudge towards a conversation about trying to get a sense of why they carry themselves the way they do, why they talk the way they do, why they do their habits the way they do. Ask about their routines, ask about their lives. Try to learn more about them because honestly, number one, this is good because often
People love talking about
people love
themselves.
about talking about themselves. So it at least will make them enjoy hanging around with you, even if you don't feel the same way. But also uh, love is proportional to knowledge, and if you want to be able to love another person more and be able to be more accepting and finding joy even with maybe their quirks, then you should try to know them a little bit more. But especially if you can navigate ways so that you can know a little bit more about why they're acting the way they're acting right now. For all you know, say they're doing something or they're expressing themselves in a way that's really frustrating, and maybe there's something rough going on in their life and you don't know about that. So like it's good to find that out so that you can have a little bit of sympathy. That's kind of
So,
vague, what,
y
but
yeah,
yeah,
so I follow and I accept I think, like, I would generally, that would be my approach, um, but to kinda continue to play the devil's advocate here,
yeah.
what if the things you find out about them make it even more ridiculous about, like, the
Give me an
behavior
example because
they
we're kind of talking vague
Yeah,
terms.
yeah, okay,
So
so
there must be people you're thinking of.
okay, so yeah, okay, yeah, I mean,
You
there
don't
are
need to name
no,
people, but I'm just saying,
okay,
think, give me the
so
kind of actions or
this is someone who
yeah,
just they dominate the conversation all of the time,
okay,
right? Whenever there's a group of people,
yes,
um,
okay,
they clearly
that's fair.
gotta make themselves the center of attention. And it's not just that they're dominant conversation, it's the point of conversation is about them.
Yeah,
Like, they're always talking about what they do or what they say or what they think, what they feel. It's and the "I" comes out, like, 1,000 times.
hmm
Um, and, so as I, like, maybe explored it with this person, I think there's insecurity there of, like, trying to make themselves, like, heard, and they felt ignored in the past. I'm like, "Okay, I can." Yet when I've offered, like, "Oh, well, maybe instead of, like, always leading with I statements," like, that could sound a little selfish or that could sound a little arrogant, the response is like, "There's no way in which that's arrogant." Like, I don't see how like, I just don't see arrogance in myself at all.
this
Um
is actually happening in conversation. You,
I'm extrapolating from a
yeah,
conversation.
okay,
So
okay,
this
fair.
isn't actually
Sorry,
exactly how it went.
right,
It actually went in a good way. But
good.
what if it went the other
The other
way,
way,
you know?
yeah,
It's like, "Oh, I don't see that at all," you know? Or like, "No, I think you're the problem here." Like, so immediately
yeah,
flip it.
right,
Or if they said, "Well, I think my opinion is better than everyone else's. I think I'm right, and everyone needs to know that."
yeah,
The rationale that they give
right,
would make me even more annoyed now. It's like, "Oh, okay, so
yeah,
not only do you talk about yourself, you talk about yourself because you think you're better than everyone else,
yeah,
like, to prove to me." Now that's
yeah,
can you ever get that level of conversation? I don't know, and I don't know, like, if people are gonna be that honest or if that's true.
yeah,
That seems, like, pretty extreme.
yeah.
Um,
I think that is
what
extreme,
if
but
people are just rude? They're rude for no reason,
yeah,
and no matter how much you try to understand them, they would just continue to be rude.
yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with calling people out sometimes in friendly ways, and you don't have to like. I don't think you have to spend days and months and years intimately with someone before you can do that. If depending on what they're doing. So, give you an example. If someone's actually just being outright rude, and say you were to in a gentle way, kind of call that out, be like, "Hey, that was kind of rude. Like
Mhm.
that's kind of a wild thing to say, man." And then if they were to, back off, many people will back off. Many people's rudeness is genuinely, or what comes across as rudeness is generally just lack of self-awareness. So sometimes you just give a little bit of
Yeah,
warning to
yeah,
someone in a
yeah.
conversation, they back off. But if it really is coming from mean-spiritedness, and you can detect that from, follow-up or saying like, "Hey, that was kind of a wild thing to say," and like, "Well, that's just how I feel," like, well, they can suck it. And then they double down and they continue to be rude, or in subsequent conversations they keep being even more rude. Then just like tell them like, dude, you're being an idiot right now. Like, the heck is wrong with you? Nobody else is acting like that. Like, call people out. The other thing and like honestly, that can be embarrassing. You could shut the person up, and then like sometimes it can be awkward for a little bit, but then things chill out, and then eventually they'll if they, if they were the confident enough person that they felt comfortable being rude, they'll get over it pretty soon.
Mm.
The other thing is, the other example you gave where somebody is asserting opinions really strongly, it's because they just think, "Well, I'm right and everyone else is wrong." Sometimes dealing with those kind of people, we can be frustrated because they're the ones saying it, but, like, inwardly, many of us think that about our own
Yeah,
beliefs. Like,
yeah.
sometimes we just need to have humility and be like, all of us, in some regard,
Do you
probably
think we're
think
better
we're
than it?
better than everyone else.
There's at least one aspect of everyone's lives, and
Yeah,
I'll speak for just myself.
yeah,
There is an aspect of my life that I do genuinely think I'm better than everyone else at.
exactly. And even if it's the sheer, very general aspect of people probably made suggestions on how you should live your life, and regardless, you're living the life the way you think you should.
Yeah.
So, like, at its core, we all are slight narcissists, and so when people show that, yeah, it can rub us the wrong way, but really I think it rubs us the wrong way often if we're being honest with ourselves, because we kind of feel the same way. And so it's not just
It's
in
just it
someone's
seems unfair that they get
yeah,
off to
they're
do it.
more comfortable and confident asserting what everyone else is maybe quietly thinking.
So then how does that so to kinda just swing it back to, like, the rock tumbler example,
Yeah.
how are their sharp edges actually smoothing mine down in those regards? Um, so I pose that because I also have
Yeah.
an
Yeah,
answer.
then go for it.
So, like, in the monastery, in monastic life,
Right.
I wouldn't say that there are tons of examples or opportunities in which it's, like, maybe that brusque or that obvious,
Mhm.
but it's, like, more of the subtle annoying things, right?
Yeah.
This guy just he can't be quiet during prayer. He's always, like, making noise, like, "Ah, ah," Or,
You told me about this.
laughing out loud in the middle of a silent meal
Yeah.
when like and then this same person gets annoyed when we tell him to shush, as if it's our fault or that like the silence is like something that we shouldn't do, right?
Yeah.
Or we have reading at dinner, and then as soon as it's done, some people are like, I hate that reading. Like, why do we? It's like, well, the abbot picked that.
Yeah.
Um, or people complaining about the food. It's just like people complain about the food all the time, right? Um, or just little character,
Well, you may need to recognize there's a
personalities.
reason why you are living in a building of all single men.
Well,
There might be some reasons why some of them are single.
yeah. So, anyways, what I'm
Sorry.
saying is, no, you're right. Is
Maybe no one else
I
found them
think
bearable either.
the thing that I have recognized as far as like the friction that I think has actually improved my own like spiritual life
Yeah.
has been the recognition of cynicism.
Oh,
Like when
in
I've seen
yourself?
when I've seen people's cynicism, and then I was like so blind to it in myself. Like how I was very cynical when I first joined the
Sure.
community, especially very quickly
Mm.
when I realized like, oh wow, that's not the way I thought it was going to be. These people are way like
You
worse
got
than I
kind of
thought.
disillusioned.
Yeah, very
Yeah,
quickly,
for
and
sure.
so I became a strong cynic, um, and and I. I'm also a very sarcastic person, so I would like
Mm,
I hide my cynicism in my
sure.
sarcasm,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it kind of looks like I'm just joking when most of the time I'm actually being very, very serious.
Yeah.
Um, and uh, I was, I was called out by one of my close friends who said, like, you're not really like you were the way when you first got here.
Mm,
Like something changed and I don't like it.
yeah.
And I realized just because I had kind of taken on the very things that I criticized in other people. And then when I started recognizing it more, I started becoming aware, like, wow, I don't want to turn into like, an angry young man turns into an angry old man.
Yeah.
A cynic young man turns into a cynic old man. Like, I don't want to become that.
Yeah.
Not in the kind of like, oh, they're worse than me. It's like
Mhm.
I don't want to be that. So I need to work on myself. Like focusing on working on
Yeah.
them is not like I need to work on myself.
Yeah.
And by doing so, like becoming less cynical,
The other things bothered you less?
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
actually way less bothered by the things that I used to
totally.
think were like reasons for me to get mad at people.
Yeah.
That like because we can rationalize, I can rationalize any grudge as
Mhm.
long as I want to keep it around.
Yeah.
Uh, and as soon as I have worked on like the acceptance of
Mhm.
people as they are, man, that to me that's been a real key for like
Is
just
it?
a lot of more of like a peace and a serenity and a freedom.
Mm.
Um, and acceptance of they are does not mean, oh, you all should just stay that way, right?
Yeah, how does that blend
Acceptance
with
and
fraternal
tolerance,
correction?
yeah, no, is I accept that right now this might be you at your best capacity,
Yeah.
but that does not mean that is your best capacity.
Mhm.
So then, and I have asked the abbot, like, okay, how do I like fraternally correct people? And he said, if it's in a moment, especially if it's them chastising another brother, or them saying something rude about someone outside the community,
Sure.
or they're just complaining. Benedict says murmuring is the greatest threat to a monastery, complaining.
Hmm.
So the abbot said, he said, "You don't have to say much. Just say, are we really contributing to communal living by
Yeah.
doing this?" He
Pretty
said,
simple.
"Just ask that. And if they get all like, rah, 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 then just say, well, I want you to know that I am going to speak to the abbot." He said, "You can drop my name as much as you want."
You don't even have to go talk to
Yeah,
me.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he said, and some
Well,
people are like,
it's
"Oh, you're gonna go tell on the abbot?" And you go like, "Yeah,
well,
because
that yeah, it is
that's
in
our
fact a
job."
community. Yeah.
Um, but he said,
Yeah.
but most people, when you actually say like, "Is this really contributing to communal living?" Or you say like, "I'm gonna say to the abbot," they'll kind of like wake out of their stupor and be like, "Okay," even if it's begrudgingly, they'll
Yeah.
recognize that you're probably right.
Yeah.
Or even if they want to admit you're right, they'll at least recognize that they should stop what they're doing.
Yeah, man. There's a lot there that's really good. I think the one point that stood out to me is the idea that you really despise in other people any of the traits that you still are trying to work through in yourself
Mhm.
or that you hate in yourself. So I think this goes both ways. So when it comes to loving other people, as you see a little bit in Aristotle and Thomas Aquinas talk about this, we love in others good that often we
Something,
find in ourselves.
yes,
And that's not
something that's
narcissism. That's
familiar.
exactly. That's just like there's a healthy, very natural love of self that is just in all creatures. And it should be there because we exist and existence is good and beautiful and we should love it. So we love our own existence. And when we see something in another person that's sort of a reflection of an existence that we can relate to, we
Mhm.
love that. The converse of that, though,
Yeah.
is if there's a part of ourselves that's wounded or that is tending towards imperfection or sinfulness or any evil or perceived evil, we hate that part of ourselves, even if we don't recognize it, even if we're kind of in denial. We do hate that part of ourselves, especially if we're in denial and
Yeah,
say
yep, yeah.
some issue of our life that we're not dealing with yet. So then what we'll do is then we see any symptom of that same issue in someone else and we really hate it. It rubs us the wrong way because it's something that we know is already present in our own lives. It's kind of like, and I mean, the irony of that is it can, uh, you can wind up becoming exactly the kind of thing, like you said, that you detest.
Yep.
Uh, isn't there a line from Star Wars like, "You become the very thing I sought to destroy"?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but this happens in the play Oedipus Rex, right? Where
Mhm.
Oedipus Rex is, for those who don't know, who are maybe only familiar with the term Oedipus complex, let's not worry about that. But don't date your mom, guys. But uh, but Oedipus basically gets this prophecy when he's a young
Yeah.
man that he's gonna kill his dad and marry his mom, and he's living in this city with people who he thinks are his parents. So he's terrified. He's like, "Well, I'm really angry. I'm gonna be super uh, proactive. I'm going to guarantee that that prophecy does not come true." He gets really angry, really, like I said, active, and decides, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to guarantee that that prophecy doesn't come true. I'm going to leave the city where my father and mother live. So he leaves the city. He goes traveling, and then he encounters a man during his travels who he ends up killing. And then he goes to a city where there's a widowed queen, and he ends up marrying her. Little did he know, the original parents or people he thought were his parents were actually just his foster parents.
Yeah.
And in his travels now, he's ended up killing the man who was his true father and marrying the woman who was his true mother. And so, all that to say, if Oedipus had basically just taken in the prophecy that was a little bit troubling and said, okay, that's I guess a risk that could happen, but I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to let it bother me. I'm not going to fret. If he had just remained in the city, he never would have gone traveling. He never would have killed his
Mhm.
dad. He never would have married his mom. But precisely because he said, "Oh my gosh, I'm terrified that this is going to happen. I hate this possibility for my future. Therefore, I need to do something about it. I'm desperate." He acted out of fear. Because of
Mhm.
that, he fled and ended up becoming exactly the thing that he feared most. And so I think we can do that with our own vices where like this
Mm.
will happen, well, honestly, with this can happen with friends, acquaintances, even sometimes uh, people in our family when we see some flaw and we're like, "Oh man," or someone older than us. You see like some middle-aged dude,
Yeah.
and we look at them and we're like, "Oh my gosh, that's the sort of thing I don't want to become." We're all bound to become middle-aged, and we're both men, so we're doomed in that regard. But like something about a person that we're like, "I do not want that to become my reality." If we act out of fear and do so in such a such a way that's similar to Oedipus and go so far, we can sometimes wind up becoming exactly the thing we feared.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I think there's some need for when we perceive something annoying in somebody else to just be like, okay, I'm not gonna let this get out bent out of shape. Because say the other person's being rude or cynical,
Mhm.
and if we get ourselves too bent out of shape, we might become rude, cynical people.
Yeah.
So sometimes to be like, wow, I really don't like that negative trait, so I'm gonna work hard to not let it bother me, so that I myself don't take on that same trait.
And so there's 2 things that I think can contribute to that not letting it bother me.
Yeah.
Because I could just say, "Oh, well, don't let it bother you.
Yeah, that
Don't
doesn't
let it bother
true.
me," and that's,
That's
like
like saying, "Don't worry, man." It's
yeah,
like,
exactly.
wow, I never thought of that.
Really, really needed that.
Super helpful.
So
Yeah.
there are 2 things that I think can contribute to actually not worrying about it.
Okay.
One is, um, whatever the recognized flaw or defect in someone else that maybe you recognize in yourself or you just don't want to, attach to,
Yeah.
is to actively start practicing whatever is the opposite virtue. So if it's
In your own
rudeness,
life, yeah.
then compassion and kindness. If it's cynicism, then gratitude.
Yeah.
And you can choose to practice that. You can't make the person,
Right.
but you can choose to do it. And then guess what? When you live virtuously, those same things will not be as like they won't seem as
Annoying.
problematic, annoying
Yeah.
to you, and you'll probably be able to see in that person like maybe where some of those seeds are for those virtues,
Yeah.
but which they're not allowing themselves to grow, and you can do something about that, or you can invite them to it. The other is, and this is something a priest told me in confession, because I was talking about judging other people and being getting very easily angered over very small things. And how sometimes like and I'll be honest, certain monks come to the choir. I'm just like, oh man, that guy, you know. And he said, you know what? He said, you're not allowed to think that again until you have spent time praying for that person.
Yeah.
Because it's way harder to dislike someone
Mhm.
that you've actually actively spent time praying for.
Mhm.
And to pray for the things, he said, that you don't want them to have. So it's like, you don't want like health, like friends, flourishing,
Yeah.
whatever you would kind of hope that they don't have,
Yeah.
you
Pray
need
for
to
that.
pray for them.
Yeah.
Because if love is willing the good of the other,
Yeah.
then whatever feelings I'm having that would say, I don't want them to have at least one good,
Mhm.
whether it's friendship or success or attention or affirmation or love,
Right.
then I'm saying I don't will their good.
Yeah.
And if I'm not willing the good of the other, then I have no ground in which to stand on to correct
And
them
you're kind of a clanging
or
cymbal
to
whenever you would go to
exactly
correct them. Yeah.
or to or getting annoyed by them is super not fair
Yeah.
because I'm like, oh, I get annoyed by you who I don't care about.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy.
Right. Yeah.
Yet I mean I do that all the time, So
Exactly. And if you haven't taken on a role of true charity and you're at a place of genuine holiness, your so-called fraternal correction is just gonna be the blind leading the blind.
yeah.
And like as Jesus says, if a blind man leads another blind man, they both fall into a pit, right?
Mhm.
If we have a bunch of if the church is made up of a bunch of people who are just deeply corrupt, getting frustrated with each other and with each other's corruption, and trying to tell them, well, you shouldn't do this, meanwhile living in a hypocritic state, then kind of we're all doomed because
Mhm.
but instead, yeah, you need to let your fraternal correction be the fruit of your own growth and virtue. Not that you have to be perfect, because it's also not to say like, oh, before you
Yeah,
ever
right.
help someone else towards holiness or encourage someone else to change, you need to be like totally put together. Because guess what? That's never going to
Yeah,
happen,
no, yeah.
and you can't wait until you're so-called perfect to begin trying to evangelize your own brothers and sisters in the faith. But but yeah, you should at least be at a stable enough point that your encouragement is genuinely not flowing out of just hatred of them or hatred of yourself,
Mhm.
but it truly is coming out of yeah, kind of an outflowing of your prayer for them. Like
Mhm,
you
mhm.
should be praying for them and praying for them often enough, having them in your mind in a very positive way, in a way that where you're willing their good, and then naturally because of that, you end up speaking to them, say one on one, and saying like, "Hey, I see great potential in you. Maybe this is a way where like, especially if it's a trait that yourself could grow in. Be
Mhm.
like, hey, this is something I'm trying to grow in. I just want to say like, maybe there are some ways that you could grow too, and here are things that have helped me. Maybe they could help you too. Whatever it is." But we're kind of getting into like the deep spiritual stuff. But even like with low key pet peeves and like just household stuff with
Yeah,
families, like
yeah.
kind of where we started.
Yeah,
It's
so
like just
we're
family
really
holiday
strong on the
stuff.
monastic half of this, but,
Yeah.
like, okay, so maybe, like, I mean, I can think about
Yeah, go for it.
times in like, our family
Yeah,
where, like,
give
tension
some
was, like,
stories, Daryl.
ran. Okay, well, right before I do that,
We found
um
ones that were more than a rant. We've had
yeah.
ones that were like, uh, yeah, borderline atomic, but
Yeah, and we can get to that. I just wanna real quick, when you were talking about, like, charity,
yeah,
with correction, it just kinda made me think about how, like, the necessity for truth and charity to always be together.
yeah.
Because like, if I correct you in truth,
Mm,
but with no charity, then I've weaponized the truth.
hmm,
If I correct you with charity, but with no truth, which would be to say like, "Oh, like, it's okay, like, you
yeah.
don't," um, then I have, like, belittled love.
Mhm.
But if
It's a false charity,
Yeah,
right.
but if I give truth with love, it would be, "Because I care about you, I want you to, like, be
Mhm,
better."
mhm.
And truth or charity also recognizes, I am sure and I know that I have things that rub people the wrong way,
Yeah,
and that I hope that someone would know that they can come and correct me.
right.
But if I'm not charitable, then, you know, because then a fear of correcting other people is that, oh, they're going to hate me or they're going to reject me or they're going to blow up at me.
Mhm.
Like, well, that's also on them.
Yeah,
You can at least be someone who other people know, I could actually go and correct Nate, or I could go and correct
yeah.
Brother Francisco because I know he'll actually receive it because
Mhm.
they want to work on themselves.
Right.
Um, but okay, so yeah, so family. You got any?
I'm sure you do. I haven't thought of anything just yet.
So talking about the holidays.
Okay.
Anyways, man, I don't know. Do we?
Hey, man, we're not gonna trash talk anybody over our, podcast, but, I mean, if there's some relatively chill memory you have, go
Well,
for it.
that's what I'm trying to sort through some of
We've had some
these.
wild ones,
We
actually,
have,
we
yeah,
have.
which
If while you're
um.
thinking, I could say something.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
So one thing I think that is really important in family dynamics in rubbing each other the wrong way is if we're honest with ourselves, I think sometimes we do it willfully, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we know the pet peeves or
Buttons.
the
Yep.
things we could say that are gonna push the other person's buttons. And C.S. Lewis actually talks about this in the Screwtape Letters, where he says you can create a domestic situation in which each member of the household is pushing each other's buttons basically, and they doing it in a very conscious and purposeful way. But they're doing it in sort of a sly way where they can act innocent. So
Yeah.
I can do
This is
exactly the thing that I know is gonna tick you
which
off,
she does very well.
and but then I can do it in a way that was sort of low key, sort of seemed innocent, or maybe it was just maybe Sam was just taking things out of proportion, blowing things out of proportion, enough so that then I can
Y-
get upset if he actually
Yeah.
reacts
That you're
kind of the way I
surprised.
wanted
It's like,
to.
whoa!
What?
Like, how could you be so dumb? Like, how would you act
Well,
that
just
way?
how could yeah,
And
be
it's
so
so
sensitive,
angry.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
C.S. Lewis, I think the words he uses are, if I would paraphrase, are, um, doing things with the express intention of the other person taking offense, and then being grieved and angered when offense is taken.
Yeah.
So I do exactly what I want to do.
Yep.
I try to offend you, I try to tick you off, but then when you actually react in a way that calls me out for ticking you off, I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, chill out."
Yeah.
And then it doubles my own anger, and you know, increases yours, and it's this really fun back and forth dynamic, and we can all do that to each other. And you, if you really watch it happen, especially between spouses, I see this all the time with spouses. If you watch, or people, I don't want to call out particularly husbands and wives, but particularly just people that have to live with each other day in and day out. They become absolute masters, absolute black belts at knowing how to push the other person's buttons.
Yep.
They know precisely the key weapon that they can use to just ruin the other person's, not their whole day, but just their moment. Just ruin their moment and then act innocent. Like, oh, well, I'm going to say this to you. And then you say, like, well, there was a tone. Be like, what do you mean there's a tone? And then the other person's like, well, what do you mean? What do you mean I was a tone? That's a gaslighting. You're like, well, no, you're gaslighting me. It's like, it's an incredible dynamic. So, yeah. Now that I bought you some time, do you have any thoughts or any
See, the problem is my mind's still stuck on this one story that I do not think is, like, necessarily fair
was this Christmas
for the
2018?
yeah, it's not fair to the whole family to tell
Yeah,
that one.
that's super fair.
Um,
That was more than a little pet peeve, but the lesson being that there can be a great deal of strife during the
the lesson being
holidays.
by not sharing any of the story,
Uh,
that yeah, I mean, there was and actually, okay, so one more point is, um,
And what a stupid reason. We literally went to see The Last Jedi, which was the worst Star Wars movie ever made.
Yeah, that caused
And
so much conflict.
it caused so much conflict because horrendous, absolutely
There
horrendous.
were other things too, but
Who are your top 3 favorite Jedi?
like at all.
Yeah, period, yeah.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. Can we include like non-canon? I mean, yeah, Disney
For
screw
sure,
canon.
bro. Yeah, Disney
Obi-Wan
is
Kenobi, Revan,
spawn of the devil. Okay, Revan?
yeah,
Very cool.
and
It's a good call, actually, yeah. Did he go back to the light side
he
after
did
was okay,
actually, yeah.
that's sick.
And then
Oh, wait, that's the whole point of the OG game.
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
exactly.
Knights of the Old Republic, if you haven't ever played it, it's from 2003? It's an old
Mine 5, I think.
Oh, okay, is it that old? Okay.
Yeah,
Or that new? Um,
super fun
actually,
game.
that's 2 decades
Actually,
ago, that's
talk about
crazy.
Christmas.
It's a
We
great game.
played that game
We used to play a lot of Star
during
Wars related
Christmas.
games during Christmas. That and the Force Unleashed, bro.
Oh,
Remember
yeah,
that? We had
yeah.
Force Unleashed on the Wii. We used to do Christmas time like one-on-one battles against each other. It was so fun. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
Okay, so yeah, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Revan, and then mm, I maybe Plo Koon.
Okay, that's a good take.
Yeah, like Plo Koon through the Clone Wars became like super cool.
Clone Wars are really the only opportunity where you get to see like a lot of the Jedi in action. Like otherwise, you go based off the movies. That most of them are blank.
It's Obi-Wan.
It's just Obi-Wan's the only
And
interesting
Luke.
person, and Mace Windu is just a hothead. And really despicable. But is there any like underrated one if you would think of?
You know who I didn't mention is Ahsoka.
Yeah,
She
what a turnaround, dude. From
she
when
actually
Clone
has
Wars
become
started being like,
oh
who is
man,
this?
and Kanan and
Oh,
Ezra.
yeah. Oh, Kanan Jarrus and
Yeah, Ezra Bridger. Yeah,
yeah.
I would yeah. I think underrated though. I don't know. I don't know if I can think of like underrated. Mm,
That's fair.
But I mean, there's some like Sindrailing.
Oh, yeah,
Like
he's cool.
no one,
Yeah.
don't really know
He
him
appears in
other
one
than
scene of the Clone Wars.
yeah.
Uh, yeah. Goated.
Who's the? Never mind. I was gonna
No, go for it.
no. I was gonna ask something and then I realized it's not actually a question. So
I got you.
um,
Is Baby Yoda or Grogu, whatever his name is he a Jedi?
I don't at least
Is
not
there more
yet.
Mandalorian?
Their Mandalorian Grogu's a movie coming out
Oh, that's gonna be
because they
horrible.
canceled all the rest of the seasons because they're dumb.
Oh, probably because Lizzo was in the 3rd season. That'll ruin any show. You bring Lizzo in and who was the other guy? Jack Black? Jack Black showed up.
Yeah, dude. They really screwed up season 3.
Disney screwed up everything. What's it like? I don't know. It'd be like, yeah, it would be like if you told someone, "Oh, I'm gonna make you a smoothie," and it just like it was just rocks and dirt and filth and like and just stuff from the sewer, and you're like, "No, this trust me, this is a smoothie." And you're like, "I mean, okay," and then you like, take a sip, you're like, "No, this is filth." I guess they had like a couple shows. Well, I should give them
Mandalorian
credit.
season 1 and 2 is pretty good.
Mandalorian 1 and 2, phenomenal. And then the one about the dude from Rogue One.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't remember what it's called.
Uh,
What is it called?
Andor.
Andor. Yes. Okay.
That show is phenomenal.
So I've heard. I still actually haven't seen more than like a couple episodes.
Oh, dude, the whole second season is just
Really?
so good.
I've been binging Stranger Things lately.
Really?
Yeah, it was during finals week of
Oh, that's a great way to spend finals week.
I
of
know,
law
right? I was
school.
like, wow. It was so dangerous one night when I think I had a final the next morning, and I mean, to be fair, I'd done tons of studying already, but I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go back to my house and study. I was debating like, should I study in my house or should I study at the law school? I was like, I just need to be at my house for a little while tonight because I've been grinding so hard. So I went back to my house and I was like, shoot, I mean, I've been studying pretty hard, so I pop on an episode of Stranger Things, and then what do you know? Netflix has that crazy little function where it says like, "Do you want to play next episode?" and it only gives you 3 minutes or 3 seconds to exercise any form of willpower. I was like, shoot, I lack agency. So there you go. Oh my gosh, episode 2. 3 or 4 episodes later, I was like, okay, I should probably study.
What season are you in?
Only season 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so still way back, but I just want to get caught up so that you and me and Tom can watch season 5.
Well, I haven't seen anything past season 2,
Cool. Well, we can
so
watch 3 together sometime.
and 4.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? Maybe it's not feasible this year. We'll figure it out. But
Anyways,
yeah, I think Kid Fist is a pretty lit Jedi though.
Kid
He
Fisto is
would
pretty
be
cool.
like my number 2 or 3.
Yeah, you always I remember, like,
Remember
even as
that?
a kid,
I just
you
think he's
always
cool.
Yeah,
But also like he can breathe
he
underwater.
can
He's
breathe
like he's a
underwater.
total stud.
That's kinda
The
crazy.
way he went out was absolutely unfair to him, but
So lame.
so lame. Yeah.
That caused some tension, I wanted to go fight George Lucas for it.
Oh yeah, Revenge of the Sith. But to be honest,
Revenge of the Sith is still a good movie, but
I saw it in theaters this year.
yeah,
It's incredible.
bunch of Jedi
That
going down
might
like
be like
total
the
punks.
second or third. That's probably the third best Star Wars movie.
You know, the Lord of the Rings Extended Edition are coming out to theaters this year.
Oh my gosh, did they ever come out in theaters?
I don't think
This is the
so.
first. Okay, dude, seeing Lord of the Rings in theaters is crazy. We gotta watch one of those together.
I
Are
know.
all 3 of them?
Yeah, I think for some theaters are doing a marathon, like
No. You need to buy a sleeping bag. Heck, man, you gotta bring a whole, like, steak dinner and probably, like, pack some, yeah, dude, pack some smoothies, and I keep talking about smoothies for breakfast, but that's
so
a
to,
day-long event.
swing back to the topic,
Right.
so let's, uh
Friggin' build a tent in that theater. Maybe put up, like, a double-decker couch. Alright, keep going. Look, this is how they go, bro. You gotta
I know.
be flexible. I'm buying you time because I know you don't have anything to say.
No, I do. I was gonna ask, while we named top 3 things, what are your top 3 pet peeves, and how do you go about responding to them when they surface?
In the abstract?
No, in reality.
No, 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 no. I mean, sorry. Like, could they be particular pet peeves for particular people?
That's fine. Yeah,
Okay. Well, I won't name any people, but let's see.
because I think
Go
this
back
is,
and forth.
awareness is, I think, a stepping stone, like a fundamental first step in sanctification. Like if you're not aware of where you need to improve, then you will just simply not. And pet peeves seem to be almost like in a socially acceptable thing. Like, oh, everyone's allowed to be annoyed by certain
Yeah,
things. Like, oh,
but
what are your pet peeves? But
right.
what are the things that annoy you that like maybe say
Yeah,
something about where you need to grow?
that's actually a great point. It's so funny. Sorry, before we get to the particular pet peeves, I love that you said that they're socially acceptable. They shouldn't be.
Yeah,
But just because they're common doesn't mean like, or just because we all have them doesn't mean we should allow them to fester within ourselves. And I think there's this weird social tendency to, um, that it's okay for us ourselves to have super high standards for what we expect from everybody else.
yeah. Like
Like,
I told you that we judge other people by their actions and ourselves by our intentions.
yeah,
So my intentions are always good, even if the action wasn't bad. Whereas,
right.
oh, their action is horrible, even if maybe they actually had a good intention
Yeah, because
somewhere.
you don't see their intentions, it
Yeah,
doesn't matter. You just, yeah. And like, people will comfortably, confidently, and I would even say, um, proudly mention the things that tick them off or the things that they
yeah,
expect from other people. Like,
yep.
well, I can't stand when people do this, or I can't stand when people do that, or um, like, oh my gosh, I absolutely lose it when people are late, or whatever it is. And you're like, well, you could say that proudly for sure, or maybe that means you should get a life. Maybe that means you should like grow in some form of virtue, or just stop being an idiot, and stop being so sensitive. So like, yes, should we all strive to not totally tick each other off? Yes, absolutely. But should we also not try to be like take things personally and like not be super
I mean, that's a
sensitive? We
huge
need this
part about pet
culture of
peeves.
sensitivity. Like you take it to the next level in our modern culture. Psychology has added a whole new layer of it, where people have all sorts of personal psychological needs and issues. Like,
Yeah.
well, okay, I'm OCD, so if someone has like their shoelaces untied, like that, I absolutely drives me up a wall. It's like, well, yeah, you can say you're OCD, or you could just look away from the shoelaces and like choose not to be a horrible person. Um,
I have asymptomatic Tourette.
what is that like? You're just like spazzing
It's like,
internally.
okay,
Oh,
so
that's
it's from this clip I saw. The teacher's like, okay, what is that? It's like, um, are you asking out of ignorance, or are you asking to really know?
that's
And
crazy.
he's like, what? And he goes, okay, so intimate, you know what Tourette's is? Yeah. So it's like all of that, but without any of the tics, but
Mm,
with all of like the mental pressure. He
wow,
goes,
being like a
so
normal person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just
Right, 'cause that's the thing, I'm
it's
not
it's a comedy to, like, show,
right.
like, how ridiculous people get.
'Cause that's I'm not denying that, like, there's legitimate like, people might legitimately experience things like OCD or various, additional psychological factors that make them more prone to, like, be bothered by things. It's fair. But those terms get so overused now,
Yeah.
and or,
Yeah, yeah, well, to
like
the detriment of people who actually have them.
right, exactly, to the detriment of people who actually have them. Say, like, you claim to have ADHD and really you don't, it's just you probably spend a little bit too much time scrolling through reels, so you've forced
Created.
yourself to have a very low attention span or inability to sit still, and because of that, like, you have a pet peeve of, say, people going on too long or talking too long, and you're like, "I'm sorry, I just can't focus on your point." It's like, "Well, um, actually, that's not a me problem, that's a you problem." Like, maybe you should work on attention span. That exact thing came up this summer. I was talking to a kid, one of the high school kids I was taking care of when I was working at the camp, and I remember, like, he asked a question about music, and I started answering, like, I was only, like, 1 or 2 sentences in, and sometimes I can go on talking too long like I
Yeah.
am right now, but I was, like, starting to say I think it was a question about classical music, and I was like, "Yeah, I think this would be considered classical music, and this was a little bit we were listening to some piece of music, and he asked about it. I was like, "This is a little bit after the phase of Bach," and he's like, "Okay, I actually wasn't that interested, like, you can stop talking, like, I don't wanna hear this much about it." And I was like, "Wow, yo mama didn't spank you enough." Like
That's super
like,
rude
but,
too, I
like,
mean,
he was peeved, like,
yeah.
he had a pet peeve that I had started talking for more than, approximately 8 seconds, and it's like, no, sometimes our quote unquote "pet peeves" are actually just us being overly sensitive ridiculous idiots, and we just need to stop being idiots. Stop being sensitive, stop being an idiot. We could just tell ourselves that in the morning every time we go to the bathroom. Before we brush our teeth, we should just tell ourselves,
Look in the
"Okay,
mirror.
today," look in the mirror, say,
But,
um
those, like, affirmations, like,
yeah,
that's,
be
like, a
like
psychological thing to do with
right.
people who are, like who have self-confidence
Yeah,
issues,
be
just,
like,
like,
"You're the
declare
greatest." Yeah.
self-affirmations to yourself in the mirror, but
Yeah.
this one's, like, self-defamation.
At least
"You're an idiot. You're"
self-encouragement, self-exhortations.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, be like, "Yeah, you
"Don't
know
be an
what?
idiot."
Stop being an idiot. If people tick you off, it's a you problem. You need to get the heck over," as they say, "Cry a river of tears, build a bridge, and get the heck over it." Um,
I love that line.
I
Anyways,
do too.
so
I'm
after
sorry.
all
So
that,
after all that,
do
I
you
do have
should we talk about pet peeves now?
well, no, because it's good to acknowledge that, yeah, we do have these idiotic functions of our mind where we are overly sensitive to little things other people do. And one of mine, it's silly, but it is actually when people chew while talking. Um, I guess they talk with their mouth full of food, whatever, however you want to say it. And I've done it occasionally too. I work pretty hard to not do it, but for whatever reason, it grosses me out. So, and I remember there were a couple times when we were younger where you would intentionally try to gross me out by you'd be chewing through carrots, and yeah, you do that, which already the sound alone just makes me want to just blow my own brains out with a shotgun. But when you add to it, seeing the carrots, like particularly I remember being carrots, just the diced up,
Orange.
chewed up orange remains of a carrot stick just lolling around in your mouth, mixed with the saliva and everything. It just yeah,
And
it
he
just
he
made
would
me
get
wanna
viscerally angry.
yeah,
He
yeah.
like, he almost I think he threw something
I
because he
wanted to
almost died.
die, and I wanted him to die, and that's just a pet peeve right now. What about you?
Dude, that's so
I
funny.
wanted both of us to die together. Yeah.
Um, well, I have a monastic pet peeve, which
Okay.
is, people going too fast or too slow while we're reciting the Psalms
Mhm.
after being explicitly told so many times, keep to the pace of, like, it's just
For sure.
so, yeah. So there's that one.
There's a rhythm.
And I just wanna, like, throw them out the window. I've actually sometimes, like, I've imagined, like, this is, some admission of my own
Fantasies of
selfishness.
defenestration,
I've
yeah.
thought about, like, if I had a button in front of me that, like, the choir stall where they're sitting, like,
Ejected.
emptied
Oh.
and or, like, went down and they fell into, like, a rancor pit.
Of
Um,
course it's a rancor. Of course it's not just like a little hole, but it's something with a
I
a
would just feel like
devastating
I would
monster
like,
that would devour them.
and I'm like, "Wow, I did, like, deleted, like, half of the side over there."
You thought about how many
Yeah,
you would
yeah,
delete?
yeah. I
Yeah.
asked the abbot if one time, if he wouldn't mind if we
Told him
put
about
on.
this fantasy?
Yeah, I told him about that, and he said, he'll install a power board in my choir cell next week. Um,
Wow.
But no, I asked him
Full
like, you know,
support.
what if a way to like correct people's errors in choir was just we all had to wear shock collars, and then whenever someone messed up, I'm like, so every now and then when someone messes up, he looks at me and just goes.
Your Avid is so unserious. It's awesome. He's the greatest, bro.
So I did that, but no, like
Oh
a
man.
more like a more like pet peeve that's like across the board, um, is someone uh interrupting me like while making like if someone interrupts me during like kind of a goofy
Casual conversation.
conversation or
Sure.
whatever, or like you interrupting the podcast. That's like the nature of the podcast, like I don't
For sure.
but when someone actually this it's more uh let's say someone's like kind of talking, like they're maybe
Like
telling the
let's
story.
say it was like Thursday morning, this past week at like
No,
just
no.
theoretically
Yep,
like
yep.
10:15
Stop,
a.m. and there's
stop,
one guy. No,
stop.
just kidding. I'm just kidding.
We're at a table and someone's telling a story and they're like, "Oh, that's great," and like we're all laughing, we all enjoy it.
Sure.
And I have a similar story, a story I want to share, and it's all quiet. And I start sharing the story, and then someone immediately, even though we all listen to this person, someone else immediately cuts me off and like, "Yeah, okay," and then just like goes back to telling their own
Like they're the
story.
moderator for the
Yeah,
whole conversation.
and I've experienced it seems like, and maybe when we look for something, we find more evidence of it.
For sure.
So it seemed like in a lot of conversations I've had with a group of friends that everyone seems to be willing to pay their attention to one person, but as soon as like I start speaking, everyone's like, "Ah, okay," and then just kind of like they
Dismissive.
all turn to like their drink or they turn to their phone or like
Yeah.
someone
Oh,
interrupts and
that's
like
a
goes somewhere else.
deflating
Yeah.
feeling. Yeah.
And to me, what I turn it into isn't so much as like, oh, like everyone's tired. It's like, oh, they don't want to listen to me. They don't like me.
It's hard
And,
not to. That's not like some
and
yeah.
but I think the pet peeve of it is that I almost mm, I almost like expect it to happen. So I
Mhm.
like work myself up
Oh,
to get
yeah.
angry
Then when
about
it
it.
happens, it's
Yeah,
confirmed, right?
exactly.
That's all the
And it could probably it might
100%.
happen less than it doesn't. Um,
Yeah.
but I see that. So
For sure.
I don't know. I guess I don't know if that's a pet peeve, but it certainly bothers me.
Mhm.
And it makes me resent those people.
Yeah.
And then if I don't want to get over it, now it has become my problem.
Yeah, right, and then it sticks with you way longer, and even if it was done in some kind of mean-spiritedness for on their part, it still was probably only in their minds for a second and then dismissed, and then
Yeah.
but for you, it might stay in your head for days, right?
Oh, here's a better pet peeve actually.
Okay.
Is when I have told someone something truthful that they've asked like, "Hey, am I this? Like, am I selfish or am I like dumb or am I unattractive or what like a whole plethora of things or am I a good friend?" And I've affirmed like, "Yeah, no, you genuinely are."
Mhm,
And then like a week later, they come back and say, "Oh, I don't think that's true." And it's like, okay, so did you think I was lying to you?
mhm.
Um, or is my word just not
Yeah, I
good for
see.
you?
Sure, sure. No,
And it's whenever someone needs to like have what I think is something that just seems obviously true to me, repeated over and over and over and over and over again to them, it's like just stop asking me to tell you then,
mhm,
because I I told you, and you either don't trust me or you won't trust anyone on this, and you actually want me to tell you that the lie is true, and I'll never tell you that.
mhm.
Um, but instead of me like you said earlier about like trying to understand them, like, okay, there's got to be something way deeper than them asking this question.
Yeah,
There's another question. I get so annoyed, it's like I don't even care,
yeah,
and that's my problem,
right,
right? Because now I'm just like I get immediately annoyed instead of like,
right,
okay, let's try to dive into like why this person might be asking this more,
yeah,
or maybe this is the question they can ask
mhm,
because they don't know how to ask the other one,
right,
and maybe they're hoping me to get to that
mhm.
because they don't know how to get to it.
That's a good point, yeah,
Um, but
yeah.
so, anyways, another pet peeve of mine is monologuing when someone doesn't have anything good to say, and I feel like that's what I'm doing.
No, you're good,
Um,
you're good.
so
I think my well, yeah, I'm not gonna we don't need to keep listing these endlessly, but yeah,
yeah. So,
yeah.
anyways, so how do we? I guess if you give a 1 minute or 2 minute like approach to like allowing like looking at this from a side of sanctity and like growth and
Mhm,
holiness,
mhm.
what are these opportunities then? Or what is all of this in light of faith or in light of holiness?
Yeah, well, for one thing, it's opportunity to grow in the virtue of patience, and people think patience is like waiting in line with a smile on your face or something. Like
Mm,
people, the term patience is so watered down that like, well, just be patient. It basically just means like, don't lose your cool while you're waiting. But really, patience just means being able to endure
yeah.
something painful.
Endurance produces proven character,
Exactly.
right?
Patience literally comes from the Latin word for patior, meaning
To
suffer, to
suffer.
suffer.
Yeah.
So,
Bless
excuse me. Literally, if you pray for patience, you pray to grow in patience. That just literally means
you.
whether you
God,
realize it
let
or
me
not,
suffer.
Lord, let me suffer more. And so God will answer that prayer, sometimes whether you've asked for it really or not, by allowing you to grow in patience through giving you, excuse me,
Have to really be patient now.
through giving you opportunities to suffer, and it mostly and often will happen in the form of other people.
Mhm.
So your pet peeves or the irritations you experience from other people, they're going to give you opportunities to suffer, and thereby they're going to give you opportunities to grow in patience. And that's an enormous virtue. Patience is not just a cute virtue. There's a lot of cute virtues, I think, nowadays, of like, oh, like be nice,
Yeah.
like be tolerant, be friendly, be patient. Like there are all these sort of cute things that we would tell a 7-year-old to do. Be patient while you're waiting for us to open the cookie jar and give you your cookies.
Yeah, right.
That's not what it's about. Patience is an incredible virtue. It's a virtue of great heroism
Currently
because,
doing it.
bless you, it is contagious. Patience, if it's a virtue of suffering well, that is the virtue that our Lord was relying on as he carried the
Mm.
cross up to Calvary. So, like, in his most pivotal, most glorious, and most painful moment of his life, patience had to have been one of the most uh, significant virtues that was going on. So, this is again, imitating our Lord is the way to become a saint, it's the way to reach heaven, and especially imitating our Lord's passion is the way to reach the resurrection. And so, the way to that is patience. Pet peeves, interacting with the people that rub us the wrong way, having tension in family dynamics and then community dynamics, all of these are ways to grow in patience. Not through some abstract, like, well, like we hope we feel a good thing, but
Yeah,
no, simply literally in the very act of suffering the painful experience, admittedly they're painful,
enduring it.
and enduring it and choosing to love the other person regardless and pray for them.
Yeah.
That's all it means. It doesn't mean you have to feel good. Patience doesn't mean feeling great. It just means
No.
actually precisely means
Very few
you don't
virtues
feel
actually
good.
feel good.
Exactly. Patience doesn't mean like feel good even though you're waiting or something bad's happening. It means exactly feel bad and let yourself feel bad and still choose to love it anyway.
And that's so my final word will be, in this place, like when things, the same thing or the same people are constantly annoying us or like that that breaks us down. And
Yeah.
uh holding on to
Wears us
resentment or
out.
holding on to like, oh, let that person bugs me or anger, like that is painful for us to experience, yet we choose to experience it.
Yeah.
So I think the question kind of in these places is, um, when will the pain of changing be more worth it than the pain of staying the same?
Yeah.
Um,
That's good.
like the pain of going through the suffering of patience, when is that more worth it than the pain of just always being bitter?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because life is going to be painful regardless.
yeah.
You don't get to choose
So
whether or not that's going to happen.
yes, someone
You get
said
to
that was like
choose what pain.
you don't get to choose like that you're in suffering, but you can choose like how you suffer.
Exactly.
Like suffer well or suffer poorly,
Yeah.
positive or negative stuff. Like
Right.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, well,
So that
hope
look
thanks for suffering with us.
exactly. And look
And
at yourself in the mirror every morning and say, "Don't be an idiot." You're not that important.
yeah,
Like
you're not that
your
special.
standards of life, your standards of what you demand from everybody else, you're not all that. It's not that significant. And so don't take yourselves too seriously. That's the
Yeah,
other thing. It's
that's the
like
other one too.
people
Yeah.
take themselves so seriously. We're encouraged societally to take ourselves seriously. And
Yeah, without a God, I'm a God, so I gotta be as perfect as possible, and then
exactly. And
yeah.
that means not only I gotta be perfect, but that means I have to demand perfection from other
Yep.
people. And I'm justified to do so
Yep.
because they owe it to me.
Mhm.
Nobody owes you anything. Um, So, yeah, we don't need to be sensitive. We don't need to be idiots. We just need to try to be holy and loving in spite of the fact that sometimes people are super annoying.
Then our tagline might be, "Don't be insensitive, don't be an idiot."
Yeah.
So,
Allow annoyance to sanctify you.
there you go. Live in the rock, Tumbler. Don't try to jump out of it.
Yeah, I like that. I
So,
like that.
well, thanks for joining us for another episode of All Good in the Brotherhood podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, share it with someone else. If it annoyed you, share it with someone else.
For
And
sure.
glad to have Nate back on in person
Yeah.
live. We'll be circling back hopefully soon with an all sibling podcast talking about our
Gonna be
Christmas
lit.
traditions.
Yeah, we won't talk about Christmas 2018.
Yeah,
I can tell you that.
That would be wild.
That'd be that was
Speaking of
not a
Christmas
tradition, thank
traditions,
goodness.
if you're curious how the monks celebrate Christmas and the Christmas traditions we have, you should check out this video right here. And if you missed our Advent episode from last year and you also want to squeak in some good quality prayer and spirituality of Advent before it's done, you can check out this podcast episode that we
I
did
look down there.
right there. So,
and speaking of pet peeves, my pet peeve is when you ask someone an interesting question and they don't reciprocate. So I'll just tell you who my other favorite Jedi are. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
We'll end. Yeah, we'll cut it off.
All right. Well, thanks. Sorry. And let's take
okay.
you later.
It's okay.
Bye.
I'm not even bitter.